Hey everyone! So in today's video, I'm continuing on with cleaning up my garden before the winter weather hits. So what I'm going to do today is kind of pull the remaining annuals that I'm going to pull. There's a lot of pots I have to empty out, and some of this is going to be hard because the plants in the pots still look good. I'll show you what I'm talking about. The cold weather's coming soon though, so I know they're not going to look good for that much longer, but it's always hard to remove a plant when it still looks nice, especially now. But the main reason I'm doing that is because the pots have to be stored inside, and I want to do that before the freezing weather hits. So they're basically in terracotta pots that I don't want to crack. I also thought it'd be helpful to actually show you kind of step by step the different things I do with the garden waste once I pull the plants, because I think I've talked a little bit about it on and off in other videos, but I don't know if I've ever actually gone through like all of the options for what I do. So I will do that as well once we get all the plants pulled. But let me show you first what we are going to take out of its pots today. So everything here is staying. These are all perennials that I need to kind of get ready for winter, but I'm not doing that yet. So behind them are the two 30-gallon grow bags of zinnias, which have, I mean, they've done really well all year. They looked good pretty far into the season, but you can tell they have seen better days. So it's time to get these pulled, as well as this bag. So this bag here was the giant dahlia zinnia. This was the giant Bethany zinnia. They both ended up looking very similar to me. Not looking similar to me, but looking similar to each other, in my opinion. And then down here, this is the one that is making me the saddest, because it still looks, I mean, other than losing some petals, it still looks like it's the middle of summer. Like everything is still green, and we have one like yellowing leaf here. There are still a good amount of flowers on it. So this is the salvia I got from the Grand Garden show. I don't want to, but I know I have to, because this pot needs to come inside, so I want to make sure I get all of that emptied out. It's also a lot easier to empty out the pots when it's not freezing, because freezing soil is much more difficult to work with. And then I have this grass plant. I mean, it still looks fine. I'm not really sad about pulling it down though, even though it still looks good. Not as sad as I am about this guy right here. I think, looking around, that's everything I'm going to take care of today. This raised bed, I think I mentioned this before, I'm keeping this as it is throughout winter, and then I'll worry about it next spring. This is going to become my native plant bed. I'm actually considering sowing the seeds this fall, because I think I read that that works better, because it mimics like the natural falling of the seeds off of the plants as it starts to get colder. So figure out that later, not today. Then here I have my peas, which some of them got knocked off the trellis in the wind. So I could tie those back up, but probably not, since I don't think they have much to go before, again, the cold weather is probably going to take them out. But I'm going to leave them up for now and harvest off of them the next few days. And then in this corner, I just have my roni berry and my rhubarb. So those are perennials as well that I will overwinter on the front deck. I am also going to empty out these pots, again, because they're terracotta. I want to get them cleaned out and ready to be moved inside in the next couple of days. This also is making me sad because everything here still looks really good. I think I might even dig up the pansies and move them down to the parkway, just because I do feel bad completely pulling them right now. But I'm also going to get rid of the cabbage. Alyssum also looks good, but same thing. I think I'm just going to pull these so I can empty out those pots. So I'll go ahead and get to work. Here are all of the zinnias that I just cut down. I did pull some out with the root ball, but most I left part of the stems with the root ball in, and I will pull those out now and get these beds empty. I now have a bunch of root balls here that I will dispose of later. And then each of these bags now is empty. So there were zinnias, tomatoes, zinnias, and now there are just 3 empty bags. Next I'm going to pull these 2 plants. This one is going to be hard, but let's just go ahead and go for it. I feel kind of silly because I just realized I never actually potted this in the terracotta. I just had it in the plastic pot it came in and put it inside the terracotta, so that made it a lot easier than I was expecting. Alright, let's do a little tour of the mess I've made, and I will talk through kind of my plans for cleanup. First of all the root balls here, if you saw what I was doing with the salvia, I try to scrape off as much soil as possible, break up as many of the small roots, and then I can reuse that soil. So what we have here is basically the very densely rooted part of the balls that I am going to have composted by the city. So I'll show you what I do with that specifically in a bit. Then I have kind of all the green parts of the plant. This I'm going to chop up into smaller pieces. Some of it is going to go right back into the bags I pulled it from to kind of break down over winter. I did that last year and it worked out really well. The rest might go into the new raised beds in the back, or I'm just going to have it composted by the city. I'm still deciding on that. This is more of the mess. That's the grass that I pulled. And then these are the pansies, which I'm still thinking maybe moving it down to the parkway. If I did, I figure it's easier to keep them in the pot and just carry the pot down and replant them. Or I might put them like planted in the raised beds. Just, I don't know, again, because they still look so pretty. But again, I need to get the pots emptied out. So here on top, I did pull the alyssum and the cabbages that I'm going to treat in the same way as like the zinnias, just chop up into smaller bits. And then I did empty 2 pots out so far that I need to hose down. I feel like gardening is just a constant state of making a mess and cleaning it up and making a mess and cleaning it up, but that might also just be life in general. So I've made the mess. Now it's time to go ahead and start cleaning it all up. I think I'm going to start with chopping down the zinnias into smaller pieces. So the plant matter I chop up and put into this container, which I was using to fill up my tumbler composter, but now since that is full, and I didn't realize how full this was, so I think this is mostly the dahlias that I chopped up. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this bucket, I'm going to step on all the zinnias as I make my way over here, and because this raised bed still has now, or not raised bed, this grow bag has some areas that need to be filled in, so removing the root balls did remove inches of the soil. I'm just going to dump all of that into there. So that's what I'm going to do with the zinnias as well until this is pretty full, and then I'll put a layer of dirt on the top and then let that all break down over winter. So that process was actually just first recommended to me last year by another gardener who said like she never kind of gets rid of anything in her garden, it all goes back into the garden. That also makes me feel a little less guilty for pulling plants that still look nice, because I'm like, well, you're, you know, breaking down to help with next year's garden in the soil. And at first I was like, well, is everything gonna really break down between, you know, the fall and the spring? And there was nothing left last spring when I went to replant these. Well, I guess I planted them in late May is when I plant the grow bags, because I don't do any like cool weather spring crops in there. So everything broke down last year. I'm assuming the same thing should happen this year. So now I will start chopping up the zinnias. So I'm just gonna take one of the branches of the zinnias and cut maybe like, I don't know, every 2 to 3 inches right into the bucket. Now this is probably one of the like least fun parts of gardening, but it is again nice to kind of put what I've grown back into the garden. And even though it takes longer, I enjoy it much more than trying to carry all of this stuff downstairs, which is what I did the first year that I was here gardening over winter. So this will be the 3rd winter in this garden. All right, so now I'm just gonna do that as long as it takes to get through all of the rest of it, and then we'll go on and I'll talk about kind of the next step with the root balls. Another bucket full that I'm going to, I think, put in the same grow bag, and then I'm going to empty out some of the containers of soil, put that on top of the garden waste in the grow bags, and then I think those should be set for the winter. So let's go do that now. Okay, so garden waste is in both of the 2 on the end, covered with soil from the pots that I had to empty out. I also emptied out the pansy pots and decided just to throw them in the bag where the tomatoes were, because why not? I still have to take care of these root balls, which I think is next and maybe last on the list. And then coming over here, these are all the pots I emptied out that I'm gonna give a quick hose down to and let them dry, and then bring these inside. And one last thing, this is the remaining zinnia stems, and I think I'm going to fill the beds in the back using these. I also might go through and collect, like for example, these leaves back here, some leaves downstairs, but anything in the garden that doesn't seem to be like disease, which I don't think there's anything left that had any disease issues, I'm just going to gather up and use to fill the raised beds in the back. So the last piece of cleanup for today is putting the root balls into this garbage bag. And then again, I keep lifting it just to make sure I can still carry it downstairs. I'm going to put all the root balls in here. If it's full, maybe I'll take it down today and put in the 311 request. If not, I'll wait until it's full. There's an app, or you can do it online, I'm pretty sure, from your computer. But If you just let them know you have a bag of yard waste, you leave it out next to your trash cans, not inside, and they will come pick it up and compost it. So let me get the rest of the root balls in here, and then we're almost done. So I think that's everything that I had to do for today. It does feel a bit strange. The garden is getting emptier and emptier. I don't have much else to do really in the garden. All the plants that are going to stay out here over winter, I need to move them in their locations, the ones that are not in the greenhouse. What else do I need to do? I need to get the hoses moved inside, the water turned off up here. I might fill the back raised beds like I mentioned, but I think that's pretty much it, and then we're kind of done until seed starting next spring. Do still have a bunch of fun videos though for the winter time, but if there's anything else that you do in your garden with the garden waste, let me know. Like I said, most of these ideas I got from other gardeners, so it's always great to learn and then take those ideas that work for you as well. So let me know down below if there's anything else you do with your garden waste, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.